With its continuous summer blooms and its tolerance for heat and a myriad of different colored flowers, perhaps there's no other flower that's better suited for hot summer days than geraniums. In this video, I'm going to give you my tips, tricks, and hacks on how to prune geraniums, how to fertilize geraniums, where to plant geraniums, and so much more. Hi, I'm Dr. Tom Warren, and you're watching The Plant Doctor. Let's get started. Regardless of the type of geranium that you're looking at, if you have a hybrid geranium like I have here in my hand, or a more traditional red flowered geranium, the more sun, the better. And they love heat. You can put them in the hottest spots of your garden and they are going to be just fine. So when we built this greenhouse, I actually did some experiments with some thermometers, and on the bench level in the middle of the summertime, I could keep it consistently 80-ish degrees. So I have two fans here behind me that pull air through a swamp cooler on the back end of the greenhouse, and it keeps the surface area really cool. But if you go up into the top of the roof of the greenhouse here, it can be 120 degrees, and we've had hanging baskets of geraniums up there, and they absolutely just show out all summer long in those baskets, constantly 100, 120 degrees. So if you have an area that stays hot and you failed with other plants, in particular annuals, look at geraniums for those really hot areas. That is exactly where you want to plant a geranium. So with pruning geraniums, there's two things that we're looking for. You want to deadhead any spent flowers and go down to the base of the flower stalk, and most of the time you can just pinch those off with your thumb and index finger. They're very soft and supple. If you have one that's a little bit more woody and is more difficult to cut, you may need a pair of hand snips, but go down to the base, remove the spent flowers, and your geraniums are going to flower more for you. Another thing that you need to look for with geraniums is inside of the canopy of the plant, oftentimes the leaves will begin to die, and they'll either lay limp on the plant itself or they'll fall down into the pot. You'll want to remove those. You'll want to go in and remove those. That is just a place for bacteria and fungus to start to grow, and that could impact the health of our plant. So once a week, look at your geranium, remove the spent flowers all the way down at the base, then look for any yellowing leaves or brown leaves and remove those, and your plant will thank you for it in the long run. Watering geraniums really boils down to just a handful of items that we need to be looking for. They are moderately drought tolerant. So they can take a little bit of drought, but the hotter it gets, the more we are going to have to water. So early spring, early summer, and your temperatures are in the low 80s, you can probably get away with watering once or twice a week. But as the summer progresses and say you get a series of days in the 90s, you will want to water every day. Just a good general rule of thumb, regardless if you have your geraniums in a pot or in the ground, is the finger check rule. So take your finger, when it's down on your index finger, which for me is my middle knuckle, run it down into the pot or the ground. If it feels moist, your geraniums will be okay. If it's dried out, you'll want to water. Now, what I don't want you to do is overwater. Geraniums do not like to have wet feet. So if you're constantly watering, you're going to run into things like Pythium root rot and some other fungal pathogens that we don't want to deal with. So always have a way to measure the moisture content of your soil, and the easiest way to do it is to just simply use your finger. Yes, there's moisture meters and things that you can use if you want to get really specific and scientific with your watering procedures. But I have found with geranium, that's really not necessary. Just a simple finger check. If it's dry, water. If it's damp, it can go a few more days. Now, when you do water, water thoroughly. So if it's in a pot, you'll want to water until you see water coming out of the bottom of the wheat poles here. You want to thoroughly saturate the geranium and then let it slowly dry out over the course of a couple days. With annual plants in general, I like to use a liquid fertilizer. I like to push as much growth as I can for as long as I can. And over my years of experience, I have found out that liquid fertilizer is the way to go. And for these geraniums, we've been using a product from Fox Farm. So this is a liquid fertilizer. And what we do is we take 4 capfuls of this Fox Farm fertilizer, mix it with 1 gallon of water, and go through and water each one of the geraniums with that solution of 4 capfuls of fertilizer mixed to 1 gallon of water. And as you can see here, I believe the results kind of speak for themselves. These are just fantastic specimens here with these particular geraniums. So I want to go over each one of these geranium cultivars or varieties in case you see one in your garden center, or if one of these catches your eye, you might can find one at your local garden center. I've got maybe 5 or 6 different varieties here, and each one of them are very unique. So this is Elegance Sunrise. So this is actually a tri-colored geranium. So the white edges and then the pink middle region, and then the stamen is going to be a little bit red, and then we have some splashes of red, and it almost looks like a painter went into the flower and just made little lines with a really dark red paint on the flower. This one's going to get 18 tall and 24 wide, so it's going to get a little bit wider than it does tall, and I think you can kind of see that it's already taking on that wider than tall habit. This is great for planters. It's also great as a specimen plant in the landscape as well for those really full sun hot areas. This is Elegance Lilac Sachet. Beautiful lavender to purple flowers here. 14 inches tall, 18 inches wide is what the tag says. This one's probably already 14-inch tall. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a little bit bigger than what the tag says. But we're also putting some really good fertilizer on it as well, so that may have something to do with it. But if you look at the flower here, so technically this is a tricolored flower. So we've got some purple or lavender in there with white, and just like with the previous pink one we looked at, we've got that red, almost looks like a painter went in with a brush, those red streaks. Just one red streak on one of the petals, and then the red stamen as well. This is Elegance Royalty White. So 14 tall, 18 wide, just like the other ones we looked at. I tend to believe this one's going to be truly more like 14 by 18 than some of the other ones we've looked at, because they're already bigger than 14 by 18. But if you look at the flowers here, this is a bicolor, so we've got white flowers, and then we have that pinkish kind of interior there, and then the stamens are pink as well. But this would be a nice plant. So if you think about a color wheel and complementary colors, like we always want to plant like purples and yellows together, or reds and yellows together, but white goes with anything. So if you're doing a mass planting of these variegated geraniums, get some white in there, because it doesn't matter if you're using purples or reds, white's going to go with it. So this is a good neutral color for the landscape. This is Elegance Purple Majesty. This may be my favorite out of the group here. 14 tall, 18 wide. And the flowers here, I really like these flowers. So it's a white petal that fades to a light pink. And then there's just one petal on each flower. Some of them have 2 petals on each flower that are red in color. So this is technically a tricolored geranium. And to me, the flowers are a little bit more profuse than some of the others. So there seems to be a greater concentration of flowers on this one. So if you're looking for a geranium that is going to be more flowers than vegetative material, I mean, I think this one kind of, especially if you look at it from this way, I think that kind of speaks for itself. This is just a beautiful specimen of a geranium. This is Red Velvet, and this one is just like the other ones, 18 to 14 tall, 18 to 14 wide. This one's already 18 inches tall probably. It's still got some width that it needs to put out. So it may be more on that 14-inch wide as opposed to 18-inch wide. But if you look at the flowers here, so we get a white edge and then kind of pink middle, and then right as you get close to the stamens, you get a really dark, almost, it's not quite black, but it's darker than crimson or maroon color as well. So there's some really nice contrast in these flowers. So if you're looking for contrasting flowers where you got some really dark colors and some really light colors within the same flower petals, look into this one. I hope you found this video helpful in your endeavors to grow geraniums. If you have a trick or hack that you use in your garden growing geraniums that we did not go over in this video, please share that down in the description below. Here on the channel, we're a community of learners, and I would love to learn something from you, the viewer. Guys, as always, thank you for watching The Plant Doctor, and until next time, happy gardening.